go.
Yep, July 7th, 2025, Select Board meeting. Start with the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, I want to note for the record, this is the first time in the history of Nottingham that Steve is not wearing suspenders.
It really probably is dang close to it.
Well, good evening, Nottingham. All right, we'll start with the accounts payable and payroll. We've got two of them to approve. Did everybody have an opportunity to read through the July 7th one?
Just finishing up. Let's see. Yeah, I'm good.
I will make a motion to approve the manifest of 6/23 and 7/7, and the payroll of 6/24 and 7/8.
I'll second, yep, Charlotte beat me to it.
Just
Love it.
barely.
Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries. Minutes, if we want to separate these ones, I was not at the June 11th planning board meeting.
I will make a motion to approve the minutes of June 11th, which was the public hearing.
I'll second.
Motion and a second, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
And I'll abstain.
Right, I'll make a motion to approve the minutes, of the public minutes of 6/16, and then I do have a couple changes on the 6/16 non-public. That's just
Oh,
the,
non-public.
yeah, just the check marks. We were all here, so Tim's missing, and then we didn't seal the minutes, so there's ticks there that need to be removed.
Anybody else
So-
have any changes that need to be made?
All right, so I'll reframe my motion. I make a motion to approve the public minutes of 6/16 and the non-public minutes as amended.
I'll second.
Motion and a second, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Motion carries.
We did not vote on this 6/11 though, did we?
We did.
We did.
That was the first one, and he abstained. I seconded.
Okay.
Yeah.
Did you have a correction you needed to
No.
make there?
No, I just didn't think we had done it.
Are we recording?
We should be recording. We're just not live. I'm gonna do
Google?
I'll do an audio recording just in case.
Because we did make motions and.
Tim's got a couple
I
of notes over
I
there.
wrote them all down.
Yeah, I
just in
did too,
case.
so.
Thank you.
All right, reports for boards and committees. Start with you, Steve.
Sure. So, recycling center, everything seems to be going pretty well over there. Haven't had any serious problems that I can tell.
I was there on Thursday. It was.
It was busy.
It was.
I've been here for 22 years. I've never seen it that busy.
I know.
The line was so long.
It was busy. Saturday was busy too. I was over there Saturday also.
The line went to the end of Anderson Way, and then people were parked
You're
on the
kidding.
right-hand side and bringing their stuff up because it was taking so long.
Hey,
Yeah, it was. That was like 11 o'clock.
yeah, no, that's
Was there
good.
something broken or just so many people
No,
trying
it was
to?
just
So
everybody
many
showed up.
people.
Yep.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Wow.
I don't know why,
That
but
one day, Thursday was.
They were
Friday wasn't gonna be
handling it.
available, so maybe people thought it wasn't going to be open on Saturday.
yeah. Hey, and recreation department's doing good. Summer camp started. I don't think there's been any problems so far, so all's good with recreation department.
One thing I mentioned to Ellen, I was talking to her about, is I don't know if you guys have noticed, but when you drive on to Anderson Way to the recycling center, it needs to be maybe graded or some fill added and then potholes.
You're talking about, you've made it in, and then you have to do the backside.
Yeah.
On the back.
Yeah,
From the tar, the transition from the tar
Yes.
to the dirt.
Yeah,
yeah, it is quite warm.
so maybe they can bring some of this recycled asphalt from over here, over, when I was talking to Alan over there about it beforehand, he said that every time they grade, it would just rain, and that's the low point, and everything just washes down, and the potholes are all back, so maybe we just need that
Something a little-
sturdier
Yeah.
material, because the top deck has been really good, it made it great through the spring.
Yeah.
So,
Matt?
yeah, I have not caught up with Steve Rollins. I mean, I think the highway department is moving quite expeditiously on everything they
got rid
get.
of all the snow?
Yeah, all the snow's gone. But, yeah, just between me being gone and whatever, I haven't physically ran into him unless anybody else has anything else. Looks like they're preparing, on Stevens Hill Road, getting that ready for paving, and then, other than that, I haven't heard-
Briefly saw him today, he thought everything was going all right, Stevens Road was progressing nicely.
The only thing I didn't know is usually we have seen paving contracts to bid on by now.
I think they're coming in.
They're coming in. They'll be available for you to review at your next meeting.
Okay.
We just put it out.
Is it, because I know he was talking with people, and then, I don't know what happened, because we were changing the scope a little bit here or there.
Correct.
But-
So it was until we got the public hearing out of the way with, for Stevens Hill Road to figure out whether it was proceeding with that, and then just really fine tuning the details on what roads were gonna have priority so we could get the lane miles figured out, and then, so that was part of my report. They have been distributed to the various paving contractors throughout the state that we normally put on the distribution list.
Okay.
And we've requested that those come in, and hopefully we'll have an award at your next meeting on July 21st.
Okay.
Master planning, we have not met since our last meeting, so I have no updates from the master planning committee.
Planning board met 2 weeks ago, Wednesday. I don't know, I wasn't there, so we couldn't get anybody to sub, so I have no idea. They have a meeting this week, so I will be going to that. CIP, we need to schedule something yet. And I have not talked with Matt Curry, so hopefully no news is good news.
CIP did get scheduled. That's going to be prior to your next meeting on the 21st.
Okay.
So they'll be meeting at 5:30 for their first meeting of this session,
When is it gonna be on?
the 21st at 5:30.
All right,
July.
I missed that someplace, but
Yeah,
thank you.
you're welcome.
I will make sure I have that written down. 5:30.
All set, John?
Yeah.
I met with Police Chief Woodman today, a long visit. I had a list of questions for her, and she answered them all. She wanted to let us know that the 2 vehicles that are on order should be here shortly. They're on schedule, but she doesn't have them yet. Her budget seems to be okay at the half-year mark. They are doing 90 hours of Pawtuckaway State Park details that they signed a contract for. While I was there today, there was an emergency call from Pawtuckaway State Park that was answered. We talked about emergency management planning, and I believe that EOP plan is being worked on. I think it was last updated in 2016, and once that's updated, we can be reimbursed for expenses and get grants for emergency planning. I told her the select board had been alerted that we had grill duties on National Night Out, 5 o'clock, and we could take turns. And she said there's no need for us to come early. We could be there at 5 and do our grilling. While I was there also, the supply closet air conditioner was leaking, and that was a problem with their supplies. And I think that's about it. Enough. So I believe Bodette is back again.
Correct?
And I know you sent out an email for the facilities committee. Did you get any responses?
I did. I received response back with interest from Gary Anderson, Charlotte, of course, and Eric Danis. Regrettably, we did get the news that Barbara Draper, who was on the committee prior when they created the facilities plan, she has passed away. So
Oh, okay.
condolences to the family, and I think those were the only two that have responded so far, other than Charlotte. So
And I think Paul,
hopefully we
I
can.
had said I would do it ahead of time, so
Absolutely.
I didn't feel I needed to.
Yeah.
I think the only other person that was Paul Delaire
Yes.
previously, yeah. But no one knew.
But you just sent it out, I think, to the people that were on that
Oh,
committee.
did you? Oh, sorry, okay. Well, no wonder. Thank you.
You're welcome. All right. Well, that's good. Ellen, town administrator report.
As I said earlier, the request for paving bids has been distributed and will be reviewed for award at your next meeting on July 21st.
What was that again?
The request for paving bids.
Oh, paving bits, sorry.
Yes. The Conservation Commission has requested a joint public hearing regarding the use of conservation funds to acquire an easement on Round Pond Road. The hearing is scheduled for 7 PM during your next meeting on July 21st. It's going to be a interesting evening, I think. We have quite a few things going on that. An easement on Round Pond Road.
Around town?
Yeah.
Oh, wow, okay, thank you.
So the notice has been posted at all designated physical locations, and it will be in the Union Leader this Thursday as required by statute. But I believe the amount that they're looking for is approximately $350,000 to acquire this easement. Since your last meeting, the walkway to the playground area and the court outside the community center has been repaved, or has been paved, freshly paved. And then other improvements going on, we have the new audio-visual equipment for this meeting room. It's finally in stock, and they will be installing tomorrow, potentially into Wednesday, but it will be installed and ready to go. So that has been long anticipated.
It's great.
And that's going to continue to feed onto
Channel 22.
okay.
What I did find is that we have really nice new equipment coming in that's obviously going to help with the audio sound quality and video quality. However, we have a cable franchise agreement with Comcast, and that agreement, which isn't up for renewal for another 6 or 7 years anyways, includes our broadcast onto the public access channel at standard definition. So we actually have to tone down our upgraded equipment to be able to broadcast onto Channel 22. So
Of course.
that is regretful. I did reach out to our Comcast representative, and he's supposed to pull together, what we might be looking for if we wanted to do a contract amendment, but I haven't seen that yet. And I guess we'll see what we get when we have everything up and running. But when we are ready to go high def, we'll definitely be there.
Probably a different def by then.
Yeah, probably. It'll be super high.
And cable won't be in existence.
Exactly.
We will, and the beauty of having this new upgraded visual equipment is phase 2, when we upgrade the actual, like the computer that everything talks to, it's going to be cloud-based. So if we want to continue on with the YouTube feeds and everything, we will be able to stream that in a higher definition.
Will it at least save it? So like if we're having a broadcast issue, it'll be easily saved for
Yes.
you, so you can just say, here's the video.
Yes, absolutely.
Are we recording?
We are recording now. We're just not broadcasting to Channel 22. I'm not really sure why.
Okay.
Maybe it was the timing of when I went live. I don't know. There is a time delay, so we have to set the recording for 6 o'clock for the 6:30 meeting. So maybe it was because I didn't turn it on quite at the right time. Who knows? Our problems will be gone tomorrow. We'll just say that.
You can all,
Celebration.
Knock on wood. I met with the department heads last Tuesday. We just did a We try to meet monthly. Sometimes it goes every 2 months depending on schedules, but we did meet last Tuesday to go over the second quarter budget review. We weren't quite ready for that because Betsy was still inputting, but we did take the time to go through the facility needs and also talk about the CIP regrouping. So I put out a request for any new or updated CIP items to be turned into me by the 16th. That way I can turn them over to the CIP so they can start reviewing them. The hope is that the CIP can get wrapped up a lot sooner, like as budget committee is forming for the season. So they have an idea, you know, what the plan is forward, but in the end, it's all about funding these projects. So
Right.
it's a great thought process, but we're restricted by what the tax cap allows
Right.
us to do within the budget. So outside of that, it was a very good working meeting. We were able to just talk through quite a few things. So just a quick update, Church Street will be closed tomorrow. Liar's Paradise for their cruise night. It will be closed from the period of 4:30 to 7:30. It was originally scheduled back in June, but due to weather, they had to postpone their annual event that causes the street closure. So there will be barricades put up in advance by the Highway Department. The Police Department's already issued a nixel, and we have it on the town's website as well. And as Charlotte reported earlier, we're experiencing HVAC issues across multiple facilities at this point. Started in the community center, we have a small and a larger condenser that serve a great portion of the town office side of this building that have evaporated out most of their refrigerant. So we're up against having to replace rather than repair, just due to the R22 coolant becoming obsolete and replacement. They've replaced those systems. So I estimate that it's going to be a very costly repair. And so with that in mind, I have contacted a couple of companies to come out and assess the system and come up with some recommendations. The police department obviously had an issue with their condenser today. The drip pan unfortunately had nowhere for the condensation to go other than through the ceiling of the police department, one of the rooms in the police
So
department.
just a plug drain, probably.
Yes, well,
That happens,
Through a light.
quite a bit.
yeah.
Yeah.
I
And
have to clean mine every year.
I had a bucket ready. for-
Yeah, I think
It's
it's
happened,
it's a
yeah.
pan to nowhere is the issue, with multiple holes in it.
Yeah.
So we need a full assessment of our system and figure out some long-term solutions rather than patch repairs that we've been doing for many years. So we have this building that we're contending with, and then also the library's experienced issues too. They have 3 different systems over there, one of which is completely down at the moment. We did an air conditioning repair there last year. So we have another issue this year, and again, that one is very costly. So when I have these other companies come out to take a look and provide their recommendations, they'll be looking at both facilities. And at that point, once we know what we're really up against, we'll probably have to put it out for a formal proposal based on what I estimate the cost to be. And then lastly, just an update, I had circulated to you a memorandum of understanding for the food pantry's shared space here in the town office to run the food pantry operations. I did send it off to their board of directors, and they came back with some feedback, and there wasn't really substantial change made to the document, but I did put it out to Primex, the town's insurer, for further recommendations. One of the questions was on the liability piece, so that's out there. I didn't know if you had a chance to review it or if you had any further questions, comments, or we can just wait until we get the information back from
I guess it'd be
Primex.
interesting to hear what Primex says about that.
Typically, with most of the MOUs that we have for the various organizations that use, you know, even the fields, there is an insurance
Right.
liability piece of it, so I imagine
think
that's
that-
going to be their recommendation.
The piece that they removed about political and religious, I think that it's important that we leave that in there as the town, because this is
Right,
town
well, because there
property.
has been a question about there being a separation of church and state.
So what does those other documents say, I guess?
They don't really
were-
say anything, because it's, I mean, it's charitable trust.
It just, yeah, it talks about the mission of the pantry, which is to serve and supplement.
In the guide, the New Hampshire guide, I think it's page 12, said, it's something about a nonprofit can exist for religious reasons or, a million different things. But, so I hope that they're not misinterpreting that to mean that that can exist in a town, because it's a unique situation, it's in a municipal building.
Right.
If it were somewhere else, it would be.
What if their charter doesn't say that is their charter?
The mission should be
Mission, right.
what the mission is.
Right. So
And
that has, right, I mean, it can exist for that, according,
Right,
and
right.
that's fine, but if their charter doesn't say that's part of their, or charter or mission or whatever,
Statement.
then it,
Well, they probably wouldn't be able to be here even if that was part of their,
right, probably not.
Yeah,
so that was just one piece I thought
yeah, I agree.
was important.
Okay. Nothing set in stone. I just said that I would reach back out if there was further discussion that was needed, so. Lastly, there wasn't a whole lot of correspondence that was received, even though you did have a little bit of a break in between your meetings. I think everybody was in holiday mode, summer mode. There was a letter from New Hampshire DES dated 6/27 of '25, and it was regarding, you were just CC'd on it. It was from a letter of violation from back in 2022 regarding 15 Lookout Point, and it was just follow-up for information for their enforcement file. So you were copied on that. And then I did just want to bring up, there's been various emails that I've been corresponding with Robin Como, who lives on Stevens Hill Road, regarding the reconstruction and question of the two warrant articles, Article 12 and 22, and whether or not any road reconstruction should be continuing on Stevens Hill Road based on her interpretation. Again, I have been corresponding back and forth with her, and I've tried to copy you off on most of my responses. I do have an email that I have to respond to her from Thursday, but I did want to bring it up just because there is a question about legal authority as to whether or not we should have continued. I did explain that because there was question at the voting, that a public hearing was held over and above just to make sure that people had the ability to come in and discuss whether or not you should proceed, and that's when the decision was made, and that our present town council feels that we're in the right to do so. So I'll keep you apprised of that.
Thanks. Am I correct that her first correspondence was concerning the stone walls?
The stone walls, correct.
But then her second was concerning?
Correct, and I had actually urged her to talk with the Public Works Director to bring those areas of concern, because we're not sure. I think a lot of what has come up, especially on that road, is there's been several years of neglect in the terms of like roadside mowing and brush removal, that now that they're starting to do that, everything's out in the open. So the stone walls are now more exposed, and you can see the windrows from the years of grading that are kind of pushed up against it. So it kind of looks like the older, they may have been disturbed when they're not. So that's why I was really hoping that the communication take place with Steve Rollins directly, because he could kind of understand or help understand, what they have done or what has been done or what's been uncovered that maybe they didn't do. So,
Yeah, I thought that was a good idea to put them in direct contact. Both Tim and I had the same kind of observation. I don't know if it's correct or not, but when we drove down, when you head up the hill from Deerfield Road, it looked as if the stone walls had been, rebuilt on the
One side of it,
left-hand
yeah.
side.
Yeah.
And the right-hand side did look in disarray, but it looked like it was old disarray and some of the places that had been a bit widened. So I assume that the intention would be to, rebuild those too, and that's time-consuming, I know. Thanks.
I believe my conversation with him this morning was he had permission from all the landowners to do whatever work he had done, so he was all under.
for the section of area that's under reconstruction for the paving, he does have landowner permission. He went over and above to make sure that everybody, he didn't want to
That's great.
cause havoc with anybody. But I think what she was originally referencing was even up towards her property, which is much further up on the road.
Oh. Okay.
So I think there's a whole lot of moving pieces going on.
Yeah, yeah. But it did look like they were trying to be quite diligent on that one side. It looked, yeah.
Because his hope is to create effective drainage so that you don't have continued washouts, especially after it's paved. We don't need to invest all that money in the paving and then have the road
Wash out,
undermined.
yeah. That seems like a good idea to me.
I'm just going back to this DES letter. That was from 2022, and it said you have till 20 days to respond, and we're 3 years later, and we're finally,
They're following up again.
seems
That's the DES. If you haven't never dealt with them, that's
very
pretty
efficient.
common.
Okay, I was just making sure. I was like, did we miss a time lap in there? But no, it
Where's
is.
Lookout Point?
I'm sorry?
Where's Lookout Point?
Off of Lakeview.
Yeah.
Up past the state park.
That was all I have for this evening. Thanks.
Thank you, Ellen. So on to the Q2 operating budget review.
And I apologize, I understand that the version that I had emailed over, for some reason, there was a formatting glitch where some of the subtotals didn't carry through on various departments like the highway and, but I believe everything is okay on this printed version. I would like to note that most departments are, now that we're beyond the halfway mark, most departments are still in very good shape at 50% or more remaining, so that is a good sign. Outside of that, our general government buildings budget, there is only about 28.62% remaining, but my intention is to go through the various invoices that we could possibly do a withdrawal out of the building maintenance expendable trust fund and have some of that reimbursed, but I have to pull together those invoices for you for a future vote, so I'll add that to the 21st as well.
I think that was kind of the question I had with some of this. So in,
Do we want to start section by section?
yeah, I just had a quick, like for rec or something like that, that if there's something that's going to come from like rec revolving, or would it have already been
It would have already been.
corrected? Okay. I just see, is there any big thing on here that you wanted to talk about, or just go through page?
No, I mean, the biggest change that we made after the first quarter, probably about 3/4 of the way into the first quarter, one of the things that I had noted that some of the recurring invoices, sometimes Betsy would code them and just process them through. And we did have a couple of instances where a department head would be like, this is tagged to the wrong line item. So I put the onus of responsibility back on them. I gave them all an approved stamp. They have to sign off on all their invoices and code them. So if something like that happens, the blame isn't on Betsy. We set our budgets. We're all responsible for making sure that the appropriate expenses are going to the right line items. So hopefully that will help clean things up in terms of that. But
So a couple of things that are like over budget when you look through. Do we have a good,
explanation?
yeah.
Yes. There are a couple of items that you will see are overexpended, and there might be an offsetting revenue. Like, for instance, the police cruiser that we lost to the lithium battery. We had all of that equipment that needed to be expended to somewhere, so it hit the police department's budget, but we received an insurance reimbursement from that, so it's in the revenue side of it, but right now the line item is overspent. So it's a matter of tagging it to an actual, but we have an explanation for it on the other side. So when we get into budget season, that will be laid out a little bit better. Right now, you're just looking at the expenditure side.
Okay.
Something as simple as, under the executive board of selectmen for the printing, the town report, I had budgeted $2,000. We spent $3,050. We actually bill the SAU for their portion of the school's report. So we get that back as a revenue, but we don't. It's bad accounting to apply a revenue to an expenditure account. So it's just a matter of, there's another side of it.
Okay. Those are the kind of notes on this.
So the valuation update, because that one's were in the valuation, but that would be coming from,
So we budgeted $20,000. We needed $100,000 to make the reval happen this year. So we had X amount in the capital reserve fund that was established for that purpose. We had the 20,000. So everything's getting expended in there. And then once the reval is complete, what we'll do is we'll request a withdrawal from that capital reserve fund, and it will reimburse that.
okay, that's right.
Back on the election one, the election printing seemed
Sorry.
significantly over. Is that again something where you go to the school because half of that's from the school and half of
They
it's-
printed their own.
They print their own?
We
Okay.
do. So part of it is that our ballot was so lengthy.
Yeah.
Was it?
Yeah.
I'm still reading it.
And part two was we had to rent from the state, I'm trying to think of what it was.
The Scantron or whatever?
Yeah, I think that's what it's called. I can't remember exactly, but there was an extra,
That's printing though.
Extra rental from the state.
yes.
I think
doesn't that start next year?
we
For
didn't
the-
use the new one though.
We didn't use the new one because we were still using the old one
No, that's budgeted for
this year. or
this
whatever.
year.
Yeah, I mean, it's carried over from, the money's already,
Yeah, so maybe it was just, I'll have to look.
Just ballot printing.
yeah, it was probably ballot, because the ballot was really huge.
Right.
Which is fine, it's just, and that's hard to judge word length content and if it's gonna be a 2 or 9-page booklet that you get, but
Yes,
for
so.
budget season, we obviously we didn't mark that.
Well,
one
the
correctly.
first thing with all the zoning amendments, normally there's just a ballot question, but when the planning board had their public hearing, they didn't have a simplified ballot question, it was the full context, so that's what went on the ballot, so that was an extra 4 pages.
Wow.
Okay.
Front,
Do
well,
we-
2 pages front and back, so, I mean, we do have that noted to make sure not to make that mistake twice.
And that costs, in addition to the printing, it also costs the programming for the machine. And maybe that's what you're thinking.
That's, yes.
Okay.
There was something extra that we had to factor in.
Right, that the machine programming for all those questions is additional.
Okay. It's good to know going forward, because obviously we didn't hit the mark on that one, but the overall budget,
It'll still come in within budget.
yeah, it's just looking at line items where,
Right. We shouldn't have any more.
Oh, no more election workers.
Right. Nothing until next year,
yeah.
or at least I hope that.
Except for maybe some
And
training on
they
the
have their,
machine.
a little bit here and there, but
Am I correct that zoning and planning postage is reimbursable?
Yes, the applicant pays for that. There is some basic postage that's required, but for the most part, the members are now asked to pick up their packets. We were traditionally mailing them out at anywhere from $7 to $11 per meeting packet. So that
good.
expense has been eliminated.
But for the planning board, that legal line item, that's just 3,000% over,
Correct.
which sounds bad.
So those are mostly reimbursable by the applicant. So again, that's on the revenue side of it. Anything that kind of ends with that O/S rev means
Okay.
there's an offsetting revenue.
Okay. And that's that one. Advertising, but that was just a big one there. Should we put OS for like postage or anything, or is that not?
It's difficult to do that because there is still going to be some postage
Okay.
generated by the department outside of the mailings for the public notices.
Okay. Advertising.
So I'm just a little confused on that. So when we're in budget season and we say for, the planning board legal services is $500 is our budgeted amount. And then we say there's revenue on the other revenue side coming in,
So what we do is, the planning board applicant is normally required to post some type of an escrow.
Right.
So whether it's, $5,000 or what have you, we pay the expense, so we know that there was an expense.
Yeah.
But then we withdraw it from that escrow account, and then if there's obviously a shortfall, then they either have to post more to the escrow, or they have to.
But when we're in budget season, that's not part of the revenues.
Correct.
Right. Okay, that's what I mean. So,
You are correct.
Okay.
Not the offsetting revenues for the tax
right,
base,
okay,
correct.
okay.
Because we don't include them. What we do is, like, let's say the line item for legal or engineering, we place that at $500, we do an offsetting revenue for $500, just so it ends up being a wash.
Right, yep. I just wanted to be clear about that.
Thank you.
What was the big hit on the community center building maintenance and the fire station building maintenance?
The fire station building was, we had the floors re-waxed, that was $1,205. They were stripped and waxed completely, and there was I know they just did garage door repairs. I don't think that was reflective in this one. It might have been.
6,500. I'm just curious, like, I know you're talking about going to the capital reserve, which it makes sense, but that's, again, you never can, with failures and stuff like that, just trying to figure out.
There is a routine maintenance for, it's some type of filtration system.
HEPA for
I think so. It was like $2,800 that came out of there as well.
that or filling up the air tanks. Okay.
So when the new cruisers hit,
Well, yeah.
We're gonna have to do some cleanup.
yeah,
So what's listed there right now is just what to repair, like you're just describing before. Okay.
Correct.
That's not the actual new cruiser.
Yeah, because what was budgeted was actual for the purchase of this year's cruiser, not to do.
So don't have to give it a nice big discount, because we go there a lot. 2-for-1 deal?
2-for-1, no.
Unfortunately not.
Sadly.
So what is that cruiser line showing right now, though?
That was the electronics replacement and the $1,000 deductible.
It's under the cruiser line item that we're looking at, not under equipment
Yes.
procurement.
From the truck, the laptop in the truck.
Battery.
But the one beneath it is equipment and procurement and maintenance, so I didn't know if that would be the equipment.
Well, there would have been the repairs, right, for the,
Radio repair,
yeah, but
which is
then
kind of
we
different.
got insurance money from that, though, so there's offsetting revenue.
Correct. But the question is if it was for replacement equipment, why wasn't it in the equipment line, not the police cruiser
Yeah.
line? But
Well, but the floor and all that got damaged and.
Yeah.
Okay, so that cost is repairing a truck. And then whatever.
And also under that equipment, both of the cruisers that are coming in still do need to be equipped
that is correct.
up at Ossipee, right?
Yes.
And does that come out of,
Yes. So there will be some equipment that can transition from the
They-
old cruiser over.
they did save
They
some,
pulled
right?
some
Yeah.
things,
Yeah,
but like,
yeah.
whatever was on the front of the car is not safe.
So that was, I think Fawn figured that based on what they gave us when they totaled the cruiser, we're gonna have like a $15,000 shortfall, so that's going to be overspending one of those line items, but the department's budget overall probably won't, because she is still down a part-time position.
Right, yeah.
So that should be able to absorb that overage.
She felt she was in good shape.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
You said they're down one.
A part-time position.
Part-time.
So I think the next one here, going down through the fire department, I mean, We just see overages in some areas, but obviously we're underspending in other areas because we didn't have the staffing or whatever.
Correct.
I mean, I know that the bottom line item, we're still over 50%, which is great. But just going into budget season, do we want to like keep note, try to make these look cleaner and flow, or do we're kind of fine how it falls
Well, I
out
mean,
in the
the,
end?
the reality of it is, I mean, your overtime is over because they're taking 6 full-time positions, making those work 7 days a week.
Yeah.
So there is still, I mean, they're filling in with part-time, I should say part-time, per diem
Right.
when they can, but there are a lot of overtime eligibility, so if we need the coverage at 24, then
Yeah,
that's what it takes.
crazy.
Yep. But if that's going to be the new norm for scheduling or whatever, then we could be able to make
The
these
budget
line
should be
items.
reflected.
Yeah.
Correct. So I think we made that change kind of post-budget. The dues, what's that for?
Oh, yeah. A bit more.
I have to see if I can get into the detail.
I just was curious if you knew what the,
Let's- Acronym SCFOMAD. Seacoast Fire Chiefs, maybe?
maybe.
Well, it's quite a bit more than was budgeted.
I wonder if it didn't hit the budget last year. If they paid for 2024 and 2025.
I'd have to pull the invoice to find out for sure.
Okay.
That was from back in February.
And then why do we still carry the ambulance as a thing, but we don't put anything in for the ambulance? We just deal with it all through the ambulance expendable trust fund? Like, is this?
It's a special revenue fund.
Right, but why? I'm just saying, like,
It's on here, it's in this operating budget, because this is what spits out of our accounting system, but there's actually a separate fund where all of that in and out goes.
okay.
It's just, it's not displayed on this report.
Can we get rid of it?
We will definitely do some chart of account cleanup when we get new software, which is coming soon.
Okay. Or is it?
Front row.
Sooner than later.
Yeah.
Because like that's usually not even on, you don't see it anywhere.
Right.
That whole section, you don't see that in the budget anywhere.
Yeah.
Right, it's just like, why are we? I don't see much else going all the way up through until we get to highway, and then I see that we decided to buy a lot of salt.
We didn't buy a lot of salt. We actually bought our regular amount of salt. That's actually where the magnesium chloride, which is the dust control treatment that they're putting down on the dirt roads, that's where that got invoiced to.
Okay,
Because there really wasn't, I mean, it was a toss-up between whether he put it under sand, gravel, and stone or salt, which it is a treatment like salt is, so it seemed to be more effective in that line item.
okay. And so then, if he plans on this again, or if we,
He should have enough to carry him through to next year, but for budgeting purposes in future years, yes.
I gotta say, it
And-
seems to have worked really well.
And the salt, he did fill the salt shed, so we should be good for that.
I was just, again, it's another big number that shows overspent, and that explains why, just looking ahead.
Yes, the expenditure for magnesium chloride's in the salt budget.
Okay, that's separate than salt.
Correct.
And equipment maintenance is over.
That comes from the 2016 Mac repair.
Engine one? The engine replacement?
Yes.
Okay. But the rest of, I mean, he's still well, where'd it go?
Yeah, that one didn't, that's one of the ones that didn't tally or subtotal.
Yeah.
Okay. Do you know what that 1% left is?
the engine replacement or repair?
Yes.
Well,
I think, they did a pretty solid rebuild on it. I don't think they replaced it all the way out.
That'd be a short block.
I'm not sure. It sounded like that something was wrong with the top end, but.
I'm just trying to see if I have a bottom line percentage for you. But I don't think I do. I don't.
Okay.
And for shim and seal coat, does he have a plan for roads to apply that to this year?
I don't know that yet.
Okay.
I can ask. Yeah, solid waste didn't carry down either, right? Under the, I don't even know what it is.
General assistance.
Yeah. The miscellaneous, that's miscellaneously twice as expensive as we budgeted.
That is correct. So we
Why
did,
though?
we did have an applicant that we had in a housing issue, so we actually had to pay hotel expenditures for 7 months.
Okay.
Again, you know, it's one of those things that we have to budget something we don't know until the need presents itself.
It used to be $10,000 was the budget for years, and then we ended up, the budget committee dropped it, I think, 2 years ago to 5,000.
And it's one of
Yeah,
those
it-
things
It was
that,
split amongst all those things, and it just kind of got confusing.
Yeah, I remember we
Consolidated
just kind of
everything.
like made it
Yeah.
a thing, but I was just, again, we have an explanation. There's really
Yep.
no reason why we
that-
should
yeah,
change
the
it from
bottom,
a 5.
exactly. The bottom line is if an applicant qualifies for assistance, we have to give it to them.
But that makes sense. We have a reason why, and then these are all the things that had got flopped back and forth between. We took them out of the budget, we put them as a warrant, and we put them back in the budget. Okay. All right, this is the one on rec. There was a few things, either she didn't have budgeted or whatever, and
The part-time salaries, that is actually for our beach monitor, Nevea, that we have in place right now. Obviously, the rec department didn't have that position budgeted for this year. It was something that
Okay.
you enacted, but we have to put it somewhere, and it makes the most sense to put it in the department that technically oversees the property, so.
Yep.
Outside of that, I think a lot of the equipment and the office supplies has to do with the renovation. I don't know if she's gonna be requesting a transfer from rec revolving to
Okay.
offset those.
yeah, that was when I looked at it.
That was pretty minimal, but I think that might be the bulk of where those two line items are being overspent.
Historical Society, you still have $500 to spend there.
We do.
Don't touch it.
Yeah. They'll buy one bottle rocket, apparently, according to the cost of those fireworks.
No, that's the Celebrate Nottingham Committee.
Right.
Two different entities.
Do you take a hat off, Steve, when you switch between?
Absolutely. Just spin it.
Should we talk about Stratford Regional now?
Yes. Yeah, so I emailed you, and I only printed out one packet, which I think, Tim, you got.
I do have.
Stratford Regional Planning Commission, our membership dues that we did not budget for this year, that's what we're discussing now.
Oh, okay.
So Jen had worked up The present budget amount that we have for Blair Haney to act as our town planner from Stratford Regional, the planning board in their budget has $22,000, which we're currently being charged $85 an hour for his services, so we can make that work with his meeting attendance for this year, but because we are a non-dues paying member, that amount is actually going to increase to, I think it was 95. So obviously, the higher the rate is for being a non-dues paying member, the less amount of services that we'll be able to have him, or meeting attendance, we should say.
Well, plus, I mean, he does provide other services too.
Correct.
Reports and things and reviews of,
He does the staff review for all of the planning board applications.
yep.
He's definitely working behind the scenes a lot.
So is this the same,
That's the same contract that was presented to us, but
is this the $25,000 in the budget for planner, though? It just
Yes.
basically, we're just doing it differently. We'd actually be saving money,
correct.
$3,000 a year if we had done this.
Yes.
But you have to pay the dues in order to get that.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
And that was, how much again?
6,856, I believe.
So are we saving?
Yes, because we get additional services over and above that, over
Right.
and above his services. So we get him at a reduced per hour rate, but then like we get the land use regulation books that are $100 a piece for each.
It seems like it's so close. I mean, depending on the
Right,
hourly rate,
right,
it's a little bit
exactly. It's
cheaper
very-
here.
It's
It's down to the pennies, depending on if we have a busy year or not.
Right, and we get trainings with it and out of, like, free as opposed to a cost, so, I mean, we should do it and take more advantage of it.
Right. And I think you will with the new planning board.
Right.
I do too.
Right, we got a pretty inexperienced planning
Yeah.
board right
We
now.
need-
Very inexperienced planning board right now.
Nothing against them,
No,
No,
just
no.
what it is.
just
I'm
the
one of
facts.
That's right,
Inexperienced
it's
planning
just what
board.
it is.
Yeah.
So,
So the only question is there isn't a whole lot that makes up the zoning board or planning board budgets. We have the secretarial position, which is between the recording secretary who does the minutes transcription off the recordings, and then we have our land use clerk, which as of Wednesday is going to be vacant because we still don't have an applicant to fill the position yet. So, the question is can the bottom line absorb that, and where would you like it to come from?
Well, we budgeted $25,000 for the planner,
Correct.
right? This gets us 22, it caps it at 22,000. Will they go retro to make sure that for the year we don't, because then there's only $3,000 we need to make up.
So even though we were supposed to make the decision prior to July 1 because they're fiscal versus our calendar year, yes, they were willing to help us with that.
So is it in your number or not?
where is this?
We don't know yet.
Okay. Speak to me.
What page is it on, Tim? I got lost here.
It's on page 4.
Four.
Yeah.
Page four, thank you. Here we go. Planning board, thank you.
So technically, there is another section. I don't know if it printed out. There is a regional dues.
Right.
Advertising and Regional Planning Association, which is actually on page 6. That's normally where, but it's a zero funded.
I've said going back and forth, because I've heard Gary Anderson speak highly of this. We put it in, and then like the next budget year, either got voted out or we went into default, so like we didn't have it.
It was passed in 2023, and I think that was the first year.
Yeah.
And then we ended up with a default budget for '24, and then it didn't get it got cut in the '25 budget in order to meet the tax cap.
Okay, or we thought so, but it sounds like the money is actually, it would be saving us
Right,
money.
back then, we thought we would save money, and it's,
Well, at the time, I think it was presented that being a dues payer member just gave us the ability to have 2 voting voices at the table. It
Right.
wasn't
Right.
presented at, okay, these are the additional services that you
Right.
get.
So you
Yeah.
find out when you're not a member.
Correct.
Yeah, exactly.
Especially when they threaten higher rates.
right.
So we'll have to make sure we have a good, kind of what we have, like explaining the costs all out fully, so that when it gets into budget season, the people are talking about
It can be sold well.
Right.
Yes.
Take a note, Charlotte.
Yeah, oh yeah, I got that. I'm all over that.
So do you think we could absorb the $3,000 someplace else in the budget, is the
I do.
question?
I do too.
And even in the planning board line item, the salary of the secretary is still only, wasn't even really touched, right? That whole line item's only 13%. Oh, 13% remaining, excuse me,
Right.
I read that wrong.
So, yeah, because some of the things are already spent.
But that's the
out.
legal, which is gonna be reimbursed. So
Right.
it's kinda hard to
Yeah.
have an effective view of that.
Right. Right, but I mean, yes, if you look at those other two lines, then, I mean, the planner, we're over half, a little.
But that's gonna be the same.
Right, that's gonna be the same-ish or whatever, so it'll, yeah.
So
So, I think we should do it, that's my
we
opinion.
budgeted
but-
for 25, and the cost is 25?
Well, no,
No.
no,
The 22 plus the 6?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
It's 28.
That's where we need to
Okay.
pick up the additional 3.
It's like, what? Okay.
22,000 is the services we get.
Okay.
Right.
yeah.
So 28,000 is the real one. We're
Okay.
budgeted for
Okay.
25.
Okay.
We need to find 3. Copy that.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, my mind speaks really a lot up here, but nothing comes out.
No, I was just like, the 22 and the 23 obviously is 3,000 different. I was just trying to.
Yeah. You should do it.
No, do,
Do we need a motion
yeah, probably.
for this contract?
Do we need to have the contract first, or do we just say it?
There is a contract in there, and I think she has it set up so that I can sign it with your budget approval. That's the biggest thing, is to make sure
We
that,
have the room in the budget, plus if, with all the building, even the building stuff coming back through the
Yes.
capital reserve would give us
Yeah.
margin and.
All right. So I'm looking for a motion to approve the contract to work with Stratford Regional Planning.
All right, I will make a motion to approve the contract for Stratford Regional Planning for the year starting July 1st, 2025.
I'll second.
Yep.
Motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
okay?
Motion carries. And then do you need to get a motion to allow you to sign this, or, I mean, as town administrator, we already give you the authority to do
Sure.
that.
Do we need a second motion then?
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
all right, and where should I just amend the motion to include Ellen to?
As signatory?
To sign on our behalf.
I still second.
All in favor?
Aye.
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 Motion carries. Thank you, Ellen. Anything else on the Q2 budget? Year to date?
Is there anything else coming out? What's left in the building? Capital reserve?
Approximately 90,000.
So there's a couple other things that we had like hanging out there. I know if we, that,
I think we need to figure out where we are with the AC units before we can.
Yeah.
true, which may be a big one, but it'd be like getting them set up before we get close to the end of the year, something like that. Like we talked about the oil tanks or propane or something like that. Now the AC unit will probably take effect. Those probably still have another year or two, but we're at about 90,000, which is probably gonna get eaten up pretty quick. Okay.
Assessing.
Sorry, that was loud. Steve, you're our assessing guy.
Sure, make a motion to approve certification of yield tax assessed, map 76, lot 11.
I'll second.
Motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries.
Motion to approve the warrant for yield tax levy, map 76, lot 1-1.
I'll second.
Motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye. Certification of yield tax assessed for map 240, lot 140-4.
I'll second.
Motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye. And a warrant for yield tax levy for the same, map 240, lot 140-4.
I'll second.
Motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye. And then again, a certification of yield taxes assessed. Map 39, lot 13-8.
Second?
Motion and a second, all in favor?
Aye. And now a warrant for yield tax levy. Map 39, lot 13-8.
Second?
There's a motion and a second, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
And then we have some signature items to sign. We had discussed, and had two public hearings on parking on public ways, so we do need to sign off on that. The updated special events licensing policy that we discussed, as well as the updates to the purchasing policy. There weren't any changes since our last meeting, so we just need to sign off on those.
Yep.
And then there's also a warrant for unlicensed dogs. We do need a motion to approve that warrant.
And this is the first, like, the warning letter before it takes effect. Like, if you take care of it before August 1st, then
Correct.
it will not go forward. Okay?
So what that is if you do not have a licensed dog, your vet sends a notification to the town to let them know you have a dog. And so they match it up to see who's got dogs and who's not licensed, and then you do have to pay that licensing fee each year.
Can I have the document to read so I can at
Yeah, I
least
haven't seen it.
say it? Okay. Do you want the whole thing or just make a motion to issue the warrant?
You can just make a motion to issue the warrant.
Okay. Make a motion to issue a warrant for unlicensed dogs, warrant date of 7/1, and the subject is for overdue dog licenses.
Second.
Motion and a second, all in favor?
Aye.
And then we do have to sign the notice of decision, that public hearing that was held on the 16th of June for Channel Street, the right-of-way highway layout letter that is being sent.
It's on file with the town clerk's office along with a recorded plan.
And then any action items for our next meeting? Well, we were going to review the tax deed of property today,
Yes.
but we're gonna have to
Yeah.
talk about that in our next meeting.
I got the inspection report back from Dale today, but I still would like Conservation Commission and the Planning Board. Those will be meeting in the next week, so I still want them to have an appropriate review of the properties. And then I spoke with the tax collector, Tracy Black, last week, and she will have a list of potential properties eligible for tax deeding that first week in August, so you can go through both at that
Okay.
point.
Good. Thank you.
So we'll be doing that, not at the next meeting, but in our August meeting.
First meeting in
Okay.
August, correct? That'll be
Okay.
August 4th.
Yep, 8/4.
Anything else? Any other action items?
We're good.
Any public comment? Sure, come on up, say your name and address, please.
It's Robin Marshall, 189 Old Turnpike Road in Nottingham. I just have a question regarding the town beach, of course. I noticed some new signs up, but they weren't the $100 fine that you had proposed. They were towing signs. So I don't remember y'all voting to tow people from the town beach.
Those
So
are
I just-
those are the previous signs that were up. I think they're more visible now because they cleaned out all the brush around the circle, but those have been there. There's going to be a placard that gets added to that sign that's going to have the fee structure on there, or the fine structure,
So
but
it's
they're
gonna
not
be
in place yet.
towing or
No,
both?
it's going to be the fine.
Okay, so it's just good. They would just
So
take it
the
They look
parking
better.
ordinance has been split into the parking and no parking zone is subject to towing. Parking where there's a permit that needs to be displayed is subject to a fine if you're there without a appropriate
So the
facility
towing
permit.
ones can come down and be used elsewhere in the town?
Correct.
Okay. All right, I just thought they were new, and I'm like, wait a minute, when did I miss that? I thought there was a $100 fine, not towing. All right, that was my only question. Thank you.
Any other public comment?
And are we gonna hear from Emmy's?
That's in
Non-public.
non-public.
Okay.
All right. So we do have non-public to move into. After we move out of non-public, we will open the meeting back up and close it. We will have no other discussion items at that point. So if I could get a motion to move into non-public.
Make a motion to move into non-public per RSA 91-A:32A and C.
Second?
A motion and a second. Roll call vote.
Aye, Steve Welch.
I'm Matt Sherlin.
Aye, Tim DeBrio.
Hi, John Decker.
I, Charlotte Fife.
Great. Good night, Nottingham. Have a great week.